Hello, CQ, calling CQ, the old friends net. This is WA4LLR, Dave in Burnsville, North Carolina, calling CQ, the old friends net. This net meets 3 times weekly on this frequency. Tuesday mornings 9 a.m., Thursday mornings 9 a.m., Sunday afternoons at 4 p.m. Hello, carried out in the Amplitude Modulation mode and the roundtable format. This net's a great place to look for parts and pieces, information, maybe trade or two, find something you've always wanted, and just a good place to hang out and fellowship with fellow amateur operators that enjoy vintage gear and the AM mode. So CQ, the old friends net. Stations wishing to check in to the old friends net, give me a call and come down.
KN4R.
WB4ARK.
KZ4 Bravo.
K4GDN.
WB4NKL. W4MEC.
I have KN4R, WB4ARK, KZ4B, K4GDN, WB4NKL, and W4MEC. Do we have any others?
N4LQ.
Recognizing Steve, are there more? All right, one more time through the list. KN4R, WB4ARK, KZ4B, K4GDN, WB4NKL, W4MEC, and N4LQ. Any other? All right, good morning to everyone. Hope you're all doing well on this Tuesday, February the 13th, 2024. We've got 34 degrees, mostly sunny and very windy. Sustained winds of about 20 miles an hour, gusting up to 30, maybe a little more. But no snow. I'm glad they missed that portion of the forecast. Anyway, as everybody knows, I'm Dave. I'm in Burnsville.
In the background, listening on the HRO. So, and Dave, you're 30 over at least here, so Ben seems to be in good shape. Go ahead, buddy. WB4ARK in the group, KN4R.
KN4R, WB4ARK. Okay, Brian. Everybody's signal is quite strong this morning. Band is very quiet. And the conditions here are, I think it's 50-something degrees, and we've got bright sun, very few clouds, if any, and looks like it's going to be a nice day. So over to KZ4B, WB4ARK.
Okay, WB4ARK in the group, KZ4B, fine business, buddy. We're located on the east side of Lake Norman near Mooresville. The handle's John. The equipment is the usual T150A night kit driving an Ameritron L1500. In turn feeding an AT5K Palstar antenna tuner, and that is feeding an in-fed long wire via open wire line, and So that's the rundown. So take it away, George. K4GDN in the group, KZ4 Bravo. Over.
KZ4B in the group. This is K4GDN. And the band seems to be in fair shape this morning in Myrtle Beach. I'm running the 4B station, the Drakes, obviously. And I got the L4B tuned up at about 300 watts, so I guess I'm peaking up a bit more than that on the voice peaks. Anyway, it's last night we had a good bit of rain. Well, Sunday all day. Sunday and Monday we had a good bit of rain. Last night it got very windy. I think we had winds in excess of 50 miles an hour. And a really heavy outdoor chair got blown over. But I don't see any real damage from anything like that. And right now it's clear, and it's windy, and it's probably in the mid-50s. And I think we're going to get into 60s today. So that's about the setup here. Cliff, it's coming to you. WB4NKL in the group, K4GDN.
Yeah, K4GDN. It's WB4NKL. Great copy all the way around. It's George, you're booming in, and everybody else is too, and it's just dead quiet on the background noise today. Name here's Cliff, located in Limestone, Tennessee, and running the DX100B into a 160 meter ladder line fed dipole. 38 degrees here. Well, sure missed the Florida weather already. It's quite a shock this morning. I'll send it on around. Go ahead, Charlie. W4MEC, WB4NKL.
Very good, Cliff. WB4NKL in the group, W4MEC. Good morning here on, what do you call it, St. Valentine's Day Eve. Everybody getting prepared for that, I guess. And it's about 43 degrees here, clear skies, and since Dave gave a wind report, we've got 3 miles an hour with 11 mile an hour gusts. And it is a little breezy out there. The cat went out and came right back in. I didn't like the wind or the chill factor, I guess. So anyway, it's everybody sounding good here today. George is sounding fine. I can always tell when signals are good on the RX1 here, the Mohawk RX1, when I run the IF gain at 0, and I run everything else with the RF gain and get a good copy. It's amazing. Sometimes when George is weak, I got to crank up the IF gain, and it raises the noise quite a bit. But the receiver does very well with the IF gain at 0, and it's just controlling things with the other gain control. Transmitter's Apache TX1 going through a heat kit tuner to window line to a dipole antenna, and the same old. One of these days I will get the other rig fired up and running here, and might actually transmit on something other than the TX1. I do have a Heathkit DX60HR10HG10 station, which I put up for sale, but no one seemed to be interested in. And what else? I've got a DX100B that I'm going to dedicate to 160 meters. Once I set it up, that has to be outside because there's 0 room in the shack in the house. And of course, my mill SERP gear, and most of it works. And I don't think I have any. I've got a TCS complete set there that I picked up over in western North Carolina. Sold to George, who modified the power supply and got it, finished the cabling and got it working basically. And I bought it back from him. And then let's see, I've got the little Lear 30-watt transmitter that I had on the air once, and plus the ARC-13. So, and the ARC gear. I have a full set of ARC gear that's ready to go. And well, I tell you, I figured I'd hook it all up and turn it on. I got the modulator power supply running, but I was going to turn them on one at a time and then fix them as I found them bad. So I know the receivers are not going to work well. So anyway, multiple transmitters here, but
The primary one is this old, found alongside the highway in a drainage ditch Apache TX1. So, anyway, back to Dave, WA4LLR in the group, W4 MEC.
Give it to Steve.
Okay, thank you. W4 MEC. Good morning, Charlie. N4LQ. And everybody is strong today in the city of Pleasant Living here in Shelby, North Carolina, where it's pleasant. A little bit of a breeze out there. I'm watching my open wire feed line bob up and down, sometimes almost hitting the roof, as it kind of has a little slope up there going up over the porch out there. But and let's see, 46 degrees. That's the weather report from Shelby. I've been working on this transmitter. This is a Lysco 600S, which I've had on the air here before a few times, and I got it off the shelf and I decided to really tear into it. So I checked all the resistors, and I changed 6 resistors that were way off value. It's just amazing how these things can still work and be double the value that they're supposed to be. For example, I had some 100K, and it read right at 1800 ohms. I mean 180,000 ohms. Yeah. So it was almost double what it was supposed to be, and it still worked. But anyway, it works better now. I managed to get another 2 watts out of it. It only had 3, and now it's up to 5. And of course, I'm driving the AL82 amplifier, and it's showing 86 watts, and the modulation is 150% positive and 13% negative. So that's using a D104 mic. Strange stuff. This uses clamp tube modulation. So the clamp tube is controlled by a preamplifier, and initially it clamps down the screen current to a low amount, and then when you talk, the screen current bobs up. So it's a screen modulation in effect, but it's just a different way of doing it. WA4LLR N4LQ.
All right, Steve, fine business. Let me take a standby. Anybody else that would like to join, come now.
Yes, good morning, Dave. This is NC4ON.
Morning, Stefan, recognizing NC4ON. Anyone else? Go ahead, Stefan, and make a transmission and give it back to me.
Roger, Dave. Good morning, everybody. It's about 47 degrees here in Denver. I'm on my Apache lab on 7000 and using my NFET antenna. And everybody's coming in quite good. So I'll keep it short and move it back to you, Dave, WA4LLR, and the group NC4ON.
All right, fine business, Stefan. Anyone else? Okay, very good. Good copy on all stations this morning, which is amazing to me considering the amount of solar activity we've had over the last couple of days. I know there were 9 solar flares yesterday, none reaching the X class like Friday morning, but quite a bit of solar activity going on. Sunspot count was 153. The solar flux index is 208. And the last posted K index was 2.3. 75% chance of a G2 level geomagnetic storm today. And it will be interesting to keep an eye on the bands. I'll go ahead and give a few things on this day in history. On this day in 1689, William and Mary were crowned in England. And on this day in 1891, Grant Wood was born in Iowa. If you don't know who Grant Wood was, he was the American artist that that drew that picture of the man and woman standing outside their house with a pitchfork, the old farm couple. It's been everywhere. Let's see here. On this day in 2000, the last Peanuts comic strip was published just hours after the death of its creator, Charles Schulz. I always liked Peanuts. On this day in 1997, Dow Jones Industrial Average first passed the 7,000 mark. On this day in 1960, France detonated its first atomic bomb in the Sahara Desert. On this day in 1883, Richard Wagner, the German composer that is so famous for a lot of his music, passed away in Venice at the age of 69. And that's pretty much it. Last night was kind of a short night. Had to get up and go pick my son up that just flew in from California. Had to pick him up at 2 o'clock in the morning. And they had an interesting ride coming into Charlotte in that storm last night. They thought they were going to have to divert to Greenville, Spartanburg, but they didn't. Brian, thanks for the signal report. You're sounding good on the Globe Champ as it hums right along. Buddy, you didn't say, I don't think, but I'm assuming you're running the RT-13, and it sounds good. And John, the T-150A is just, as always, beautiful signal. George Drake's doing a good job. And Cliff, that DX-100B is, that's a great radio. Charlie, you need to get yours on the air. And Charlie, I would love to hear that ART-13 that Buddy works so hard on. I'd really like to hear it. Steve, the Lysco 600S sounds good. It is amazing when components shift that much in value and the unit still works. And Stefan, the Anon 7000 is doing a good job too. Let's see what else. Not a whole lot more, so we'll go ahead and pass it back around. And Brian, you told us that you picked up some early DeForest components at Hamcation, and that's neat. Just curious as to what all you got. And Cliff, I've not heard a report on what you brought back from the Sunshine State, so I'd be curious about that. KN4R, WA4LLR.
Okay, Dave. Very good. WA4LLR in the group, KN4R. Very good on all. Dave, thanks for the solar flare information and this day in history. By the way, during that transmission, you pegged my meter, and it's dropped down just a little bit, but it's still over to the right. So, and okay on your son in from California, congratulations. And I can imagine a very bumpy ride, but I'm glad they didn't have to divert. I don't know. I took 2 days worth of pictures at Orlando and posted them. I think they went out on the mill surplus list, but I'll post both those links on the old friends here in just a few minutes. You can see in the first group of pictures, you can actually see the big DeForest transformer in a wooden box. Has a nice data tag and also a nice decal. And it looks like maybe 1904 to 1906. And then there's some type of a spark wheel that we're not sure about yet. But the fella who I got them from has more. He's being a bit elusive, but you know me. First and foremost, I like to track stuff down. So this is the kind of stuff that should be in the Antique Wireless Museum up in New York, and I don't think they have anything probably this early, so kind of crazy. So anyway, over to you, buddy. WB4ARK in the group, KN4R.
KN4R, WB4ARK. Okay, Brian. Very good. It sounds like you had a good trip, and it's always great to document what you get and where it came from and all the pertinent information about it, because if you can, if you don't, or if you do, then that serves to carry the legacy of that device on forward. The temperature here was 50 degrees. I didn't mention that, but it's right at 50. And yes, ART13, R390A, transmatch, horizontal dipole. And let's see what else we got. Well, we're still working on the Collins KWM2. It's going to take a little time. I'm going slow with it, weeding out some of the defective components. Capacitors, resistors. Found one resistor, 220K, was actually 570K. That was a shocker there. I don't think I've seen one off that much in a unit that came from Collins in a long time. But it's been around and may have been in Vietnam. We don't know for sure, but it's definitely seen some service. So it's not an A, it's standard. And waiting on some relays from Howard Mills for the K4 and K2 relay to change those out as a mod. Remove the telephone relays and put in enclosed relays. That's going to be a job. I've got everything written down and marked, and all the color coding on the wiring is the same as the later editions of the KWM2, so that's helpful. And that's about it for right now. So we're just waiting on a few parts to come in, finish it up, and the relays, and we'll have it done. We'll get it back to Butch Gibbons. So, KZ4B, WB4 ARK.
Okay, WB4 ARK and the group KZ4 Bravo here. Fine business, buddy. Signal-wise, the noise hasn't kicked in yet today, which is great. And the there's some fluttery, fast fluttery QS Baker, but it's not really bothering anybody. Signals are generally pretty darn good. Dave, the Grant Woods picture, I think, was Whistler's mother. Correct me if I'm wrong. Charlie, when I was a teenager, my parents used to go to the beach for about a month every year. And I took a TCS unit down there. I had the transmitter and the receiver, and it took up so much space in the station wagon that it kind of ticked off my parents, but they put up with it. And the cabinet, before I took it down there, the cabinet was somewhat beat up. And but I noticed that it was stainless steel, so I stripped all the paint off the cabinets and polished them, and they looked like they were chrome plated. Just beautiful, beautiful cabinets. They weren't dented, so it looked like $1 million. And by the way, Charlie, I've got I think a noise blanker that plugs in one of the tube sockets for a TCS 12, and I'll be glad to give it to you next time I see you. If let me know if yours doesn't have a noise blanker. And let's see what else. Yesterday I installed an inline ferrite bead W2DU type isolator, because the LED light in the shack here, when I run the antenna that I'm on, the in-fed long wire, tends to cause the LED light to flicker. Well, it did not improve the flicker at all. I'm grounded to the same ground that the service entrance panel uses for the power system, and apparently it's bleeding in through that. But it has quietened down the talkback through the receiver. As far as I can tell, it's not getting into the transmitter to cause any unwanted feedback, but it's the only antenna I have that I guess it needs more ground than anything else I've got, so it does aggravate the LED light here in the downstairs ham shack. So, with that note, I will pass it on to George. Take it away, George. K4GDN and the group KZ4 Bravo. Over.
KZ4B in the group. This is K4GDN. And a couple of comments here. Speaking of the LED lights, I've got 6 here in my shack. They're 4-foot twin tubes. And 5 of them are the same. But there's one of them that was made by the same company but a different model. And it just raises Cain when I plug it in and turn it on. So it's off. It's unplugged. And it's particularly bad with the in-fed antenna. They seem to be a little more prone to picking up noise, I guess because the feed point is at a voltage maximum, and that's what receivers respond to, whereas the center feds are fed at a current maximum. And like I say, it does really make a bunch of noise. Also, on the commenting on the TCSs, I had a set of TCSs when I was in high school in the early 60s, and that was really my only AM transmitter. I had an ART-13, but I never could get it on the air. And I had a BC342 receiver, but the Collins transmitter was the only AM transmitter I had, so I only got 80 and 40 out of it. I did have CW on 15 meters. And speaking of the upper bands, 10 meters was really active yesterday. A lot of European stations coming in. And I got on with my, and speaking of the TCS that Charlie's got, I guess that was the one that I got from Charlie, built a power supply, and then Charlie got it back from me, so I'm assuming that's what he was talking about. But on 10 meters yesterday, I got on with the SB100 and the Collins 30L1, and one thing I noticed on 10, and it also showed up on 20 and 15, is you've got to really be careful. That 30L1 will go into parasitic oscillation. And I noticed that Collins came out with a service bulletin on that in 1970, and they recommended changing the grid choke from 39 microhenries to 22. And I don't think mine's been changed. But anyway, it's something you got to really be careful of. That thing will go into parasitic oscillation, even hooked up to a dummy load on 2015 and 10 if you're not careful how you tune it. So that's the story there. And Dave, thanks for all the information, and Brian, the pictures. I enjoyed looking at those. Haven't been to a ham fest, I don't think, in at least 4 years. The Myrtle Beach area, they just don't seem to be that active. The club's got a website, and they say they have meetings, but they don't say where or when. Well, they say what day, but they don't say where. And I went to one early on when I went down here, and I wasn't too pleased with it. Anyway, I'll pass it on from here. Coming to you, Cliff. WB4NKL in the group. K4GDN.
K4GDN. It's WB4NKL. Okay, George. Good copy. Let's see, buddy. I don't envy you on that KWM2. I did that to my KWM2, and I don't think I'd want to do another one. I got it done, but it's quite a bit of work there to get those relays changed out. There was a surplus sales in Nebraska used to have a kit for that, and I guess it was from Collins parts, but I don't think it's available anymore. Let's see, I've got a TCS set up here, but I don't have a power supply. I've got to build up a power supply sometime. Get that set up and going. They're in pretty good shape, the transmitter and the receiver. I've had the receiver working, but I've never had any power to the transmitter. And let's see, the Orlando trip. Biggest thing I got was from Brian, RCA receiver, and he hauled it all the way to Florida, and I bought it, brought it all the way back to Tennessee, so it got to travel quite a bit. Could have just made a horizontal move there instead of a vertical up and down move, but it all worked out. And the only other, I picked up a friend of mine had a pretty good looking DX40 Heath kit, and I had a receiver he was interested in, so we did some trading on that. And a few parts, about the extent of my pickup in Orlando. Charlie, I think you were the one you said you had a DX60 for sale. A friend of mine just sent me an email here, was wondering if you're coming to Dalton. He's interested in the HG10 VFO, and I wasn't paying real close attention to what actually you had, but I think he's interested in the VFO and maybe the DX60 too. But he was asking about if you're coming to Dalton, but so you might pass that along. Let's go ahead, Charlie. W4 MEC, WB4 NKL.
W4 NKL and group W4 MEC. Okay, real good. Yeah, okay, now I'm getting pressure from two sides. I better get that ARC 13 hooked up. Actually, it's warming up enough to work in that shack, so. Let's see, HG10A, I'm not going to break up the set, and the reason he wants it is because if you look on eBay at HG10s, apparently Heathkit made some gold-plated ones, gold-plated chassis, gold-plated cabinet, gold-plated tube sockets, because they are asking a ton of money for them, so that's why they're so hard to find, and why people that want them are just looking for them. But I'm not going to break the set up, and I know I'm not going to Dalton, so probably take it up to Waynesville in July. So anyway, let's see. Sorry I missed Steve. I don't know what that, I got it written down here right in front of me, but I just jumped over him there. I guess he was in the wrong sequence. He's supposed to be at the beginning, not at the very end. So that's what threw me. So I'm sticking to that. So I got my carburetor apart on my truck, and I'm sitting there slowly putting it back together, and hope to get it back together and convert it to a non-feedback. If you're familiar with Fords in the 80s and their pollution controls, boy, they made some screwy things there. But thankfully, this particular motor, the 300 cubic inch inline 6, is a very versatile motor, and I can pretty much take all that junk off, all that stuff. And the carburetor has all these gewgaws hanging off the side that aren't necessary. So we're going to put it back to a standard way you used to buy at Ford motor there that gets normal gas mileage and runs real nice. So anyway, and let's see, get that going, and maybe I can get that truck going by tomorrow. Of course, it's been raining the last couple of days. We got about an inch of rain. I looked at the rain gauge. Coming cumulatively, it really never rained hard. All the real bad stuff kind of split and went around us. But right here, it wasn't really bad at all. So, okie dokie. Let me get it right here. N4LQ in the group W4MEC.
You got it right. W4MEC. N4LQ. Real good. I suspect the audio on this thing's a little bassier than most of my other rigs. I'm not sure why. The modulator in it uses 3 tubes, one preamp and then it's got another amp, and then it uses it's a dual purpose tube that is a rectifier for the audio. Yep, a rectifier. And the rectifier drives another bigger rectifier, and it only allows the audio current to flow through in one direction, and that's the clamp tube. And it clamps the 807 final. But it's the coupling capacitors in it are stock, but they're all 0.05 microfarad. And usually it's just the opposite. Usually they use real low value capacitors, and you end up with a loss of bass. But this thing, I think it's got maybe too much. I don't know. Give me an opinion on that. I'm confused about KZ4B. John, you said, and I wrote this down, you had an in-fed long wire fed with open wire line, and I'm thinking, what in the world? Are you talking about your in-fed half-wave antenna? So if that's it, then I understand. But that's what you've been calling it, an open wire fed long wire, which that would be troublesome, I would think. So maybe you can clear us up on that. I've found that a lot of times when the in-fed half-waves, when the end of it is near the house, then the electric field will definitely get into things in the house and vice versa and cause some problems. And I see that I've drifted a little bit there. The old Lysco has a VFO, and the variable capacitor is just sitting out there in the open air on the chassis with no shielding around it or anything, and so a little whiff of air can go over it and make it shift frequency, but it's not too bad, I guess. Cliff, that AR-77, I think that's what you said that you picked up from Brian, and I just wonder, maybe Brian can tell me, is that the same one that I had at the shack over at the other house and made a video out of? That's got to be what the oddest looking receiver ever was. It's really strange. I forgot how that dial works, but you got these two big fat pointers that cross over each other. Kind of reminded me of a cross needle MFJ meter they use on their equipment. And real fine cliff on that DX40. Boy, I tell you, trip to Florida to get a DX40. I hope that's a good one. And I guess we need to hear it sometime here on the net, see what it sounds like. I've got one here too, and it's not too bad. I guess it works okay. Over to you, Dave. WA4L LR N4LQ.
Let's give it to Stefan.
Yeah, Roger, Dave, Steve, no problem. Copy you guys beautiful here this morning. I think you said you were on a Lysco radio, Steve. You're coming in beautiful, no problem. All right, I enjoyed reading a little bit about that AM transmitter that you posted there on the email thing, and yeah, that looks like a nice project one of those days. I have indeed an old Yaesu here that I'm playing with now, an FT757GX2 that maybe I will try out one of these days here on the AM net here. I have not hooked it up with an amp, so I'm going to wait for that, but maybe next week I'll give it a shot. Alright, thank you for doing the net this morning, Dave, I appreciate it. I'll make this my 73. Everybody has a good week, and hope to be back on Thursday. So back to you there, Dave, WA4LLR in the group NC407
Okay, Stefan, fine business. 7-3 to you. Quick standby, any late check-ins coming up? All right, nothing heard. Okay, let's see here. We'll do a 73 round if the propagation allows. There was some QSB beginning on that one. We may have a geomagnetic storm in the offing, so we'll see what happens. John, in answer to your question, the painting was not Whistler's Mother, but American Gothic. American Gothic, painted in 1930. Shows the fella and the woman standing outside this American Gothic style architecture house. Everybody thinks it's a man and his wife. It's actually depicting a man and his daughter, but she looks as old as he does to me. But anyway, it was called American Gothic. And George, you really came up on that last transmission. You were booming in up here, and fine business on the 10-meter band opening. And good deal, Cliff, on picking up the RCA and the DX40. Charlie, good luck with the carb rebuild. That's one animal I've not had the nerve to tackle. And Steve, on the Lysco 600S, it is a bit more basic, but it's certainly not objectionable. I think it sounds really good. So, we will go ahead and do a 73 round. So go ahead, Brian, KN4R, and fine business on the pictures. Thank you for posting those. WA4LLR.
Okay, very good, Dave. WA4LLR in the group, KN4R. All right, signals are still terrific. Steve, I'm not sure if your video was of this AR-77 or not. If it has the correct, really nice looking kind of gold front speaker, it might be. I'll go back and look at your AR-77 video. But anyway, I'm glad Cliff ended up with it because it's a very nice example. So anyway, I'm going to say 73s. Thanks all for participating, and I hope everybody has a wonderful day, and we'll see you on Thursday. So WB4ARK and the group KN4R, 73s.
KN4R, WB4ARK, okay, Brian. All the signals are still strong. And not a cloud in the sky, so looks like we're going to have a nice day. I didn't say a word about the ART-13. Give me a break. I'm letting that go. I did my job. So anyway, I guess that's about it. We'll just sit here and wait on parts and look over this thing a little bit more and see if we can find something else wrong with it. But it was working before, just not that well. So anyway, that's the deal here. So we'll turn it over to John. KZ4B, WB4ARK. Thanks, Dave, for doing the net.
WB4ARK in the group, KZ4 Bravo. Fine business, buddy. Very good. Turn that down just a little bit. Conditions were less good on that last transmission. So Charlie and Steve, who both normally just boom in here, were somewhat marginal, and with this fluttering QS Baker. And so, Charlie, if you answered my question about do you want the noise blanker for a TCS-12, you may have answered it, but if you didn't, well, repeat it in any case so I know whether or not to bring it next time I see you. Shifting gears, Charlie, you gave me a 800 megahertz dummy load. The dummy load, the resistor in it was shot, but the meter was good, and it's a non-linear, it's a square root scale, so it's perfect to use for making a watt meter. So I am putting together a 4 kilowatt full scale, which is deceptive because with the square root scale, mid scale is only 1,000 watts, but it's just like any watt meter scale with an analog meter. And so I hope to use that when I'm testing using my Bird 750 watt continuous watt meter to be able to see what wattage is going into the dummy load. So thanks again for that. Yeah, Steve, shifting gears, yeah, you know, I'm not good on describing antennas, as you well know, but it is a 5/8 wavelength in-fed, and the first 30 feet from the balun is just by the chimney, which is just outside my operating position here downstairs, and it goes up about 30 feet like a vertical, and then folds over, and the rest of the 200 and something feet, well, it's not that, it's half that. The rest of the length, 130-ish feet, is only about 30 feet above ground, headed toward a pole on the edge of the water. But it's the quietest antenna I have, so it's a big deal, thanks to my next door neighbor. It doesn't get out the best and it doesn't receive the best, but there's less noise. And so that's about all I've got. Enjoyed it this morning. So 73s, thanks for calling the net, Dave, and Charlie, don't forget to answer my question. So take it away. Well, George, I think maybe signed. I'm not sure. If not, pick it up, Cliff, and maybe Cliff sign. This is KZ 4B over to whoever takes it.
Well, I guess I've still got it. This is K4GDN. And Dave, thanks for calling in that. Really appreciate you getting in there. That's a tough job sometimes with us. And Steve, the transmitter sounds fine to me. I don't really notice a whole lot of difference with it there. And Brian, thanks for the pictures. Enjoyed seeing all that. Wish I could get down to the Hamfest. So I'm going to say 73 on this round, guys. Enjoyed it, and look forward to being in here on Thursday. So coming to you, Cliff. WB4NKL in the group. K4GDN.
Okay, K4GDN. It's WB4NKL. Still copy, George, but not quite as good that go around, so I guess the band's changing. Thanks for calling it, Dave, and enjoyed it. And good to be back in Tennessee, even though I did enjoy the trip to Florida. I didn't enjoy the trip back too much yesterday. We had rain from down in lower Georgia up to Asheville, and then back into rain time we got home. Turned a 10-hour trip into a 12-hour trip. But all in all, it's a good time. And Charlie, guy was sent me a message. There's Mike, KE4WX, and I told him you'd be at Waynesville. He said to bring it, so he's interested in the pair there, the transmitter and the VFO. So 73s, and send it on to let's see, W4MEC, WB4NKL.
Okay, Cliff, real good. W4NKL, W4MC. Okay. Well, I was just trying to be funny there, buddy, about R13, because Dave is on my case too. So getting pressure. Let's see. Yeah, John, if you copy, bring the noise blinker. I thought I had one. I was looking for it the other day. But the problem with that is you got to drill a hole in the front of the panel, and I don't want to do that. You got to, can't remember now if you had to move the switches over. I think you have to add a switch. You got to move them over. And I had another one, a TCS receiver, where someone put in the blanker and then took it back out, but they drilled a hole right through the nameplate on the front panel. So, now how dumb can you be? They didn't even read the instructions that come in the box with them, you know, because there were so many of those things that were still available. I think you could still get them at Fair Radio, brand new in the box, the noise blanker mod kit. And from what I understand, I think George was telling me and a couple other people, it didn't work that well anyway. So anyway, if you'd like to bring it, I'll keep it as something with the TCS gear. So let's see. I can't remember any other notes there, and I won't be advertising that ETH kit because I don't want to have to ship it. So I'll be holding on to it until July. So, and I'll bring it up there to Waynesville if I can get in this year. So, all righty, 7-3 all. We'll look for you on Thursday. Y'all have a good rest of the day here, and enjoy the nice non-raining weather here. Let's see, N4 LQ in the group, W4MEC.
All right, W4MEC in the group, N4LQ. Well, it's been fun, nice net, and good round table. And thanks to Dave for the network control job. Back to you, 73s everybody. WA4LLR, N4LQ.
All right. Fine vintage, Steve. Any final comments before we close the net? All right, nothing heard. Well, gentlemen, thank you for your participation in the net today. I hope you have a great day. Stay warm. This is WA4LLR, Dave in Burnsville, North Carolina, closing this session of the Old Friends Net. 7-3.